Alright guys, TouchCry back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and a great day of Call of Duty action to finish off the regular season play for Stage 4. But of course, in just a couple of days' time, we are back to LAN with the seedings coming from, well, the matches that finished off today. So many massive implications. Let us just dive in. And treat take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this informal big match today versus Los Angeles Thieves. Certainly that was the case for the Optic guys. We'll talk about that, of course, in just a couple of minutes' time. First game was also very important for Optic, as of course, Seattle beat Optic just the other day in pretty crazy fashion. So Seattle winning this series against Paris would have been, well, really good for Los Angeles Thieves to improve their chances of making it through to the winners bracket. However, Paris come out, this is the thing with Seattle, right? The other day, they actually played pretty solid, right? And in this series, it's pretty much only Gunners actually coming up to play. Yes, Paris played pretty well, and that's the thing with Seattle, right? Like, they had a good opportunity here, right, to win 2 series in a row. The only series they won all stage is up against Optic Chicago, which is pretty crazy to see. They lose the map 1. Game 2 goes all the way down to the wire. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it was a 4-0 advantage for Paris here on this Miami. Ended up going the distance, but Scraps wins this 1v1 against Gunners to close things out. But Gunners was, well, he had enough, to be honest, of getting bullied by Scraps in his final kill, and goes into the control and absolutely dominates it. A fair play to Gunners, but yeah, not ideal really for the Seattle Surge going down 2-0 here. Really, it was losing the hard point that felt like it was the dagger, because they're just so bad in general at Search and Destroy and Control that it was like, I mean, probably they're going to lose at least one of those two, and then, you know, they're probably not going to close out the rest of the series. This kind of crazy stat, he actually has the most 10 plus kill performances, that being Octane, in Search and Destroy so far this season with 11 of them. So again, he's get 10 kills, but still they cannot close out the game. Gunless then in the control just completely dominates it. 38 and 22, gets a load of streaks on the Garrison. That is enough to get Seattle over the line in that one, but then in the final map here on the Checkmate hardpoint, it's Paris Legion that close out the series. So good job there, well done for them. Obviously this was great for Optic, right, because now they had a very easy time getting through to the winners bracket. They basically had to not get 3-0'd, which pretty funny, because that's exactly what happened right back in the 2018 World Championship in World War II, which against Evil Geniuses, mate, some of you guys may indeed remember. But this time, it doesn't go a similar way to that. But anyway, Paris Legion win this one. Not really too much more to say on that one. In terms of the scoreline, you can see Gunners right here with, well, 1.24 over the course of it. Octane with a 1.0. The SMGs on the Seattle Surge, pretty much standard procedure at this point, not really performing where they need to be. Let's talk about this next series then, because this was really interesting. This is a series I've been excited for a very long time. That's New York Subliners versus the Toronto Ultra. They're, well, number 2, number 3 teams in the game, I think pretty much everyone would say, behind Atlanta FaZe. And Ultra were just on fire, right? Since their initial series loss against Florida Mutineers, I was thinking, okay, that might be some sort of a wake-up call for these guys. They're going to be back on absolute top form after they lose that series. And they lost the first 2 maps of that series to Florida, then they won 2, then they lost game 5, and since then they won 12 maps straight. Remarkable stuff, to be honest. So this is what would have happened if Subliners won, then they get the first seed. If Ultra win, they then get the second seed, and also it had implications, as we talked about earlier today, for Dallas getting third. So if Ultra won, Dallas would indeed get the third seed, and Florida would fall out of it. And as a result of that, we saw Skies right here saying, you know, hello, what to eat for breakfast? Do you need me to order you a smoothie, King to Claystar? Trying to get him to play the best possible Call of Duty he can, so that, well, New York Subliners will win this series and get Mutineers their spot into the winners bracket. That is not exactly how it goes. This game one really interesting. We very rarely, to be honest, see a game go down to time on Checkmate hardpoint especially. We've seen it on Moscow a couple of times. Checkmate, it's pretty rare, but look, Toronto know exactly what they're doing right here. They don't need to be in the hill. They can just, well, hop out of it, just defend the hill from actually people getting in, and therefore it puts them in a great spot to close out this game. 225 to 205. Pretty rare to see something like that happen, especially on a map that's very good for New York, right? This Checkmate hardpoint is a very good one for them. When Toronto won this, I was like, yeah, okay, that actually may be a really good sign for Ultra in this series, because their Search and Destroy and, well, their control especially is much better than New York, I would argue. So I thought this is a pretty important map 1 for the Subliners right here. They can't take it, and then going into the game 2, we get a pretty similar fashion right here when it was on this Express Search and Destroy. Cammy had some monster moments, to be honest, catching the old New York Subliners guys off guard, and there's quite a lot to talk about with this Subliners team. We'll have to dive into it tomorrow with exactly what might be going on here in the major, but honestly, like, Toronto Ultra are just such a well-oiled machine. These guys, just every single player on the team can pop up at any moment. They've, it just feels like if any one of them's having a bad map, someone else is going to take over, and it's pretty rare that anyone on this team does have a bad map, to be honest. Like, they very, very rarely have stinkers. I think Bance had a difficult map right here, but it's Cammy going like 11-6 or something like that, so he had some crazy moments, even with the SMG in hand, which usually he does not tend to use all that often, and then into the control, where Subliners, it's certainly been their weakest game mode as of late, and Ultra are just so good at this game mode in general. They get some great moments. I mean, look at this closer from Clinics right here. Tough spot, needs a 2-piece to close it out, gets the first, gets the second, second on Hydra, no problem at all. And well, Clayster pretty frustrated with this whole situation. A 3-0 dominant sweep for the guys on the Ultra side. Yeah, as Cammy says right here, flawless code after that first loss. They come into the major once again after FaZe, of course, are going to be the favourites. But still, I think you could very well argue right now that Ultra are the second favourites coming into the tournament. Once again, I mean, it's really not a surprise at this point. Well-oiled machine, as I say. Bats goes -9, Insight +13, Cammy +12. Difficult series for Clayster on the other side of things, most certainly. Now, what this does mean is that Dallas Empire are confirmed as having a winner's bracket spot. So that victory against Florida Mutineers yesterday, massive for them. And the bracket, honestly, when we do look at it in greater detail tomorrow, is, well, I suppose what you might actually expect right now. So it's been some kind of weird brackets, I suppose, so far this season. But Dallas Empire do make it to the winner's bracket once again. So fair play to those guys. And this is how it stands in Group B at the end of it. And so Ultra get that number 1 seed. Very important to get that number 1 seed, most certainly, over the Subliners by winning that series, of course, having that head-to-head tiebreaker. Then Dallas Empire have it over the Mutineers because of the, because of course they beat them just yesterday. As we said earlier today, if Subliners won that series, it would have been a 3-way tie that Dallas would have lost out on. This was the final series of the day then. Optic Chicago versus the Los Angeles Thieves. Really interesting one, because Optic come off a massive loss, right, to the Seattle Surge just a couple of days ago. This is a must-win series for them, pretty much. Going in, it wasn't quite the same, as you can see in this right here. If Optic win, then they're second, because they win the tiebreaker over Minnesota Rocker. I think maybe I messed that up earlier today, so apologies for that one. But yeah, they would, of course, be second, because they beat Rocker 3-0 right at the start of the stage. FaZe, of course, first, because they, well, didn't lose a map, or didn't lose, well, I think there was like 3 maps or something, but they didn't lose the series, of course, this entire stage. Now, if Thieves won 3-1, then that would be what it took for them to get the winners back a bit. If they only won 3-1 or 3-0, then that wasn't enough, right? Because there was a tiebreaker with Paris, and Thieves lost to Paris, and Optic beat Paris, so it was a difficult spot for the Los Angeles Thieves to find themselves in from a map count perspective. So this is how things went. Game 1, honestly, it was down to the wire. Thieves kind of did a similar thing as they did yesterday up against Minnesota Rocker, or maybe a couple of days ago now, when it looked like they were going to do it at times, but or at least like try and bring it back, right? And they went down pretty heavily early on. Then they try and bring stuff back, but it's just not enough. And Dashi goes off this game number 1. The scoreboard we'll look at in a second is pretty remarkable. The scoreboard for this entire series is just ridiculous. Like, Thieves got absolutely stomped in the respawns. The Surge, I mean, they actually won it, so fair play to them. But the respawns was complete domination from the Optic guys. Like, it kind of does blow my mind how just a few days ago, Optic are losing to Seattle and, like, really struggling to get through some of the respawns, losing good control. And then today they come out and just completely dominate them. So I don't know if it was just Seattle playing well or Optic got super complacent going into that Seattle series, just had an off series or whatever it was. But game 1, you can see Formal right here, 29-20. And that was the thing coming into this series, right? Formal versus Slasher versus Kenny. That's certainly been a bit of drama, a bit of beef that's gone on these last several seasons and this season as well. And well, Formal really comes out to show, yes, we are clearly the superior team at the present time, and certainly going into a LAN environment. This is our world winners bracket secured as soon as they won this game number 1. Dashi 35-20. Formal goes positive as well. Slasher 17-31. TJ Halley 19-31. Not great for those guys by any means at all. And well, they of course have a tough time most certainly in this series. Now, they do find themselves still with at least the Optic guys have something to play for, because second seed versus third seed, there is still some impact in that, so they still had to try and win this series to make sure they got at least the second seed rather than the third one. But in the Search and Destroy, it does go the way of Thieves. This has honestly been a great map for Optic so far that we've seen them play it. But yeah, some good moments from Slasher, especially right here. TJ had some decent moments as well. Hook had some moments. So I think Scum was just dominating in this map on the Optic side, but yeah, no one really else could get too much done. He nearly like aced the final round as well to clutch it up for them. But then we go into Control. This may be the quickest Control that we've seen this entire season. I think the game clock had it at 4 minutes 58 seconds for all 3 rounds. I mean, like, Optic won their offense instantly. You could kind of see Formal after these rounds on the camera being like, yo, these guys are horrible or whatever, just like, you know, trying to hype up his team, because understandably so, right, they got completely bodied. The scoreboard for this map looks like genuinely it's just for one map of Control, or one round of Control, sorry, not an entire map. It's just outrageous. And they finish it off right here in, well, maybe the most dominant Control of the year. The fact they lost this to Seattle the other day, that Seattle hadn't won all year, I'm like, what is Optic sometimes? But yeah, they look super good right here, obviously in a must-win series for them. At least that would have been their perspective going into it. They have a 2.21 series KD, or like map KD, sorry, for the entire team on this. And look at this, right? Scummy goes 13-4. I mean, I guess we'll look at the other side. Kenny 7-12, Slasher's 3-13. Who can Slasher, right? The two players coming back that had a great series, both of them the other day. 7-27 combined in a single map of Control. That is just outrageous stuff. And as well, Nameless says, right, it already makes no sense to me. How are they pulling up today looking like the Globetrotters? As Hitcher says, like, you know, people downplaying how good Seattle play played in that series a couple of days ago. It's actually the Optic guys that have been looking very good as of late, as in scrims these last few days. But yeah, then we go into this map, right, where Optic once again just steamrolled them. And this is interesting because just the other day, Thieves were dominating Minnesota Rockall on this map. They 60-point clubbed them, 250 to 60 or 59 or whatever exactly it was. And it was 250 to 60 earlier on this season when those two teams played. But this time, Thieves just get completely smoked off the map. I mean, this is something that can happen, right? If you get good side early on this map, you get a lot of time on the first hill, you rotate to seconds. I mean, you can easily get 100 points in the lead early on here. And it doesn't really, and Los Angeles Thieves give it a go to bring it back. But the slaying again from the Optic guys was just ridiculous. We'll look at it in the final scoreboard right here. Scum was obviously pretty cracked. I'm pretty sure he goes like 29 in 16 or something. Gets 2 kills, shoots an Envoy as well. Trying to take him down on a 5-kill streak. You could tell he was absolutely wired in at this point. Yeah, great series from all the Optic guys, to be honest, and sets them up very nicely indeed going into LAN, because they've talked about the fact that, okay, when they go back to LAN, they're going to try and improve, or they certainly think they're going to improve. Los Angeles Thieves as a team in a similar spot, but Optic certainly showing they are the better of the two squads at the present time. Well, this is how it finished off, of course, for, well, GG's at Los Angeles Thieves. We won 3-1. I was maybe hoping something else would come out of Formula a little bit, maybe a little bit of a slight dig or something, but he did, as is tradition. I'm pretty sure, like Kenny's tweet, so GG's Optic, we lost 3-1 even. Pretty sure he went in and hit the like button on this, as we tend to see at the present time. Look at these slaying, right? These slaying numbers are just out of control. The outslay, well, Optic outslayed Los Angeles Thieves by 85 kills over the course of 4 maps. Now, the damage, unfortunately, isn't here for the Search and Destroy, because for some reason, like, the scoreboard broke or something. Not really sure what happened there. But look at this, right? Scump is plus 27, Formal is plus 15, Envoy is plus 19, Dashi is plus 24. Now, obviously, slaying isn't everything. We do tend to see Optic sometimes get more kills, but they don't quite end up winning the map sometimes. Definitely, they're one of the teams that, if the slaying's equal, you're probably expecting them to be losing the map. That just tends to be how it goes. But yeah, Los Angeles Thieves on the other side, I mean, they got completely bodied. Like, Slasher has a 0.61, TJ has a 0.58, Hook has a 0.78. He had a pretty woeful last map as well. So, really interesting to see. Of course, we're going back into LAN in just a few days' time, and it's just really strange to see the fact that Optic just a few days ago get bodied. Not bodied, of course, but, you know, they lost to Seattle Surge, and now they come out and just completely destroy Thieves. So I wonder if it's like a mental thing where they come into the series knowing, okay, this is a super big one. Formal, of course, has that rivalry between Slasher and Kenny, and it just feels to me that, like, whenever Formal plays Slasher, Formal always gets the better of him, regardless of the situation. But maybe on LAN, that could be a different story. Slasher certainly considers himself something of a LANable, but Optic Chicago will play their first series on LAN. We'll look at the bracket in more detail tomorrow, but the first series, of course, at Formal versus Slasher and Kenny, exciting stuff. But that means that Optic came second in their group, Dallas Empire came third in their group. Well, that means winners round 1 of the major, Optic Chicago versus the Dallas Empire. That is Formal versus Crimsix, the beef that we saw very recently indeed. So exciting time to be a COD fan, most certainly. LAN just around the corner in a few days' time, but many other storylines to talk about in these coming days in addition to that. And try to take your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you once again as always, take care, and I will see you next time.